Question for the group. This happened to me, I think, for the third time in the last 3 months or so. I was in GoDaddy auction. I actually won all three domain names, and these were separate times. And then I get I guess an email of sorts that it's been closed and canceled. And I just wanted to get some clarity on why that happened when I actually won, and then I even sent the money, and then afterwards it just said the auction is closed.
Yeah, yeah, I can address that. That actually happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I won prize.net, and a week later it was reversed and the money was refunded. In that case, it was an expiry from Two Cows, which is a partner registrar, and the registrant renewed it at Two Cows, and so they pulled it back from GoDaddy. So they syndicate, right? So GoDaddy runs expired auctions for a lot of registrars, and so
Okay.
that's it. Sometimes there's a window of opportunity for the registrant at the last minute, or really after the last minute, to go back and renew it. So that happened to me. And Jothan is probably a good person to talk about the particulars. If you want more clarity, Jothan, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. So we're playing put you on the spot volleyball. Braden and I are.
That's
So
exactly
basically, well, what happens is as registrars, have a particular period of time after a domain's anniversary that it's going to renew automatically at the registry. So you've already paid wholesale fee to the registry, and then there's a 45-day clock during which you can delete the name. So a lot of registrars will take and put that name to competitive auction to allocate it to both offset the costs there, but also help get the name into some good hands. If you figure somebody's going to pay a higher price for it, that they probably want it. During that time, if the registrant of record can pay for the name, they will be able to pay for the name and keep the name. And so that happens pretty frequently. And that's exactly what happened here.
Right, and there's oftentimes a fee. What's the fee called?
Okay. So if the domain, in fact, goes and gets deleted at the registry, and this is kind of a separate thing, but there's what's called a redemption. A name redemption. Yeah, so there's a life cycle for domain names. Don't happen to have it handy for on the spot here, but I could talk towards this. But essentially, I mentioned that there's the anniversary point and then a 45-day period during which the registrar can delete the name, and then they'll be refunded their wholesale fee. Or at any point when a domain's deleted, there is a 30-day period, is it right? Yeah, 30-day period during which a registrant can do what's called a redemption.
I've got some flavor too on this.
Okay, cool. So you can do a redemption. There's a higher fee to it, but what happens is the domain is actually not deleted until those 30 days have passed for that redemption period, and then there's also an additional 5-day period. So it's a total of 35 days after a deletion is sent to the registry before a name will actually head off into the, where you could pick it up in drop catch or something like that. So during that 30-day period, you can pay what's called a redemption fee, and or a restore fee is another name for it. And then the name can be, essentially put back into current status, and you can continue to use it. The fee's higher. It's typically varies, but it's typically many multiples of the typical registration wholesale fee. Paige, was that you that said you had some color on this too?
Yeah, I think it's a special time. Hold on.
You are reverbing.
I think it's a special time because in many registrars, we don't have redemption fees now because of the waiver that was originally done for COVID until July 1st, and it's now been extended. But Roman, I think for you to have 3 in a week, and we talked this week earlier, I think you're buying about, what, 1,000 names a week?
No.
For you to run 3, that's probably pretty high in my experience. but you probably did have a large percentage of them at other registrars. GoDaddy, when you win that name, they actually take it out of the old owner's account. And it's really tough for that old owner to get it back at GoDaddy. They really have to fight and claw and everything else. But at some of the other registrars, it's just as simple as them going into their account, seeing that it's a late renewal, and clicking on it. And there's a rumor out there that some people even let their names, if you're at Enom or something like that, go into the auction. They try to see if it's got any traction under the misguided thought that someone will bid on it, then they'll renew it. The person won't be able to buy it. Then they'll contact them and offer them a bunch of money for it. So, but I think what's interesting. Go ahead, Braden.
Roman, those three, you said there were three all at GoDaddy. Were they similar?
No.
No, because I was going to say if they're similar, maybe it was the same owner.
Yeah.
And he knew that owner went back and the registrar renewed all of them. I mean, so that's a possibility because that's not a big coincidence because it doesn't happen very often. It does happen, particularly higher value names. But
is it fair to say once it's in your account, that domain name, it's yours? Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
No.
Oh, okay.
Once
I-
it's
I
out
say
my
yes.
account by GoDaddy.
It would be very rare. Just, I previously worked at Snap Names, and I can tell you, it was our policy, once the name entered auction, to not pull it out of an auction. It had to be something that was really rather critical, like, an attorney or, some kind of infringement. And it tended to be the policy of the registrar, but they don't want you to pull it out of an auction.
Fair enough. But if it's in your if it gets transferred into your GoDaddy account,
You own it.
okay. And that's
No,
No, I don't agree.
no.
I wouldn't agree.
With GoDaddy. They had that 60-day auction lock for a reason.
Yeah.
They snatched the name out of my account. They didn't even ask me if they could take it. They took it. I got a cancellation and a refund notice. And then
Wow.
my rep called me and said, hey, something happened. We got to talk about it.
Yeah,
that was probably
ouch.
about 30 days later. I had it listed on all marketplaces, won in the auction.
Yep, I've had the same thing happen as well.
There you go.
I
That's
was
GoDaddy, though.
actually on the other side of this,
Yes.
and a couple of you know this story. This is a couple of months ago. I had a name that sold, and it fast transferred out of my account, and I didn't intend to sell this name. It was a really high value developed site for a client, and somebody fast transferred it out, and I got it reversed, and they pulled it from his account, and I got it back. He wasn't very happy about it, but he got refunded. It took about
a full aftermarket sale, wasn't it, Braden? That wasn't an expired names auction.
It was an aftermarket sale, yeah. It's not expired, but the point is that it did get transferred to his account.
Yeah.
And it got reversed.
Yeah.
So they can claw it back. Because immediately what happened is, and it was at Namecheap, and so I emailed Kirkendall and he immediately froze it because they're going to make sure that everything is legit and they can reverse it and they're not doing anything they shouldn't do. But he froze it so that it could not transfer. So he locked it. And then we went through the process and clawed it back. So
It's not as bad as it used to be. It used to be everyone knew what names went for above $1,000. They could contact the old owner at GoDaddy pretty freely, offer them $200, pay the redemption, get it moved to them, and you had a lot more high value expired auction wins, disappear. But Roman, it does say you got to be a little careful. At least I am on bragging about what I won until it gets to me, and then even then, if there's any risk that someone may go, oh yeah, that's my name, then it kind of becomes who can make the biggest fuss at GoDaddy, and you just never know if you're on the right side of the bigger fuss. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So immediately don't build out a website 3 days later and spend like $50K on development
Actually, that
costs.
would help you with GoDaddy.
Oh, would? Okay.
If you, I don't know if I'd spend $50K, but
in
I
3 days.
personally think, this is just Paige talking here, I think they've probably factored in a cost of doing business to do some makeups on each side rather than ever face the issue of, is it legal to sell someone's expired name? So the more that you can look like an end user, the more likely I believe you are to prevail in a contest where they're trying to decide which person they're not going to offend. That's just my own personal feeling. I don't know what everyone else thinks about that.
Paige, when you said this is just Paige talking here, there's two of you. So which page are you referring to? I'm not sure which page.
Page 31. Page number 1.
Okay, there's just one of me now, so.
Had to.
Well, I know also GoDaddy, they changed their terms of service, was it a year and a half ago, for the 30 days. So in theory, if it's a domain that's a GoDaddy domain and a few of their partner registrars, the domains should be safe. But there's a few other ones I know offhand. I know Mark Monitor is one of them, and the other ones I can't tell you. They don't have the 30-day sort of clause where if somebody bids after the 30 days, the domain is gone. So if it's from another registrar, it's not GoDaddy. Be careful because the 30 days.
It's Enom is one of them.
Yeah, and the auction takes place on day 35. So some of these registrars let their customers renew up until day 42. And now with the changes of, as we were mentioning before, the changes with the COVID, who knows what it is after that. So, but I know if it's a GoDaddy domain, if you make a bid after day 30, the domain should be yours if you win the auction. But again, there's always exceptions to the rule of GoDaddy, right?
So Enom and Two Cows are the same company, I want to point out.
So it's possibly that all the Two Cows, because I know, because obviously GoDaddy expiring auctions, it's not just GoDaddy domains anymore. Mm-hmm. And so the other registrars have their agreements, but I know a couple of them, when GoDaddy changed theirs, I guess they pressured those registrars into changing their terms as well, so that nobody could renew after day 30. Particularly if there was a bid, sorry, then the people couldn't renew. It would automatically get into the backlog system, into their back system, and it would be reserved, and nobody could renew it. But for some of these other partner registrars, they don't have the same terms with their customers, and if they allow it to day 42, that would take precedence over the GoDaddy auction. Does that make sense?
Also, it stipulates that you know, if you look at GoDaddy, GoDaddy's a global brand now. So you've got to take into account the rules and regulations of every country. If I've got a domain name for GoDaddy auction and I've got the money's been debited from my account and I've got the invoice, that's a legally binding contract in the UK.
Well, it depends on what their terms are, right?
Doesn't matter. That's GoDaddy's. What I'm saying is that's GoDaddy's terms and conditions, but under UK law, under the Sale of Goods Act, that's a legally binding contract because the money has been debited from the account. So you've got to look at the terms and conditions of every country. Every country has its own rules with regards to commerce. And it's not just about because it's GoDaddy. GoDaddy's got to abide by international law. And European law and UK law is completely different from American law. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I agree.
Well,
your mileage may vary on all this. Yeah.
We'll try to get a GoDaddy rep here in a future week to answer those questions, because
I'm sure they'll answer that question.
Yeah. Colin will get 2 different answers 2 different times. Actually, speaking of GoDaddy auctions right now, I did have a little game for everybody to play. There's an auction going on. I think it'll end in about an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. CBD trade. I want you guys to take a guess in the chat what it'll go for, and we'll check later on. It's a live auction right now. Hasn't passed yet. So what you guys think?
Oh, if you do that on a name that I'm watching at any point in the future, I'm gonna go nuts.
That's the only one. One per day, one per show. Yeah, CBD trade. And so there's already tons of bids. I deliberately did not take one where there was a few bidders because I didn't want to, screw it over with you guys.
So did you say CBD trade?
Yeah, CBD trade. So take a guess what it's going to go for. It was already in the 4 figures, or like it was 1,000 or something like that when I checked. As Josh said, I specifically did not want to get one that was under the radar, So
it's
take
at
a guess.
6,100 right now.
Oh, it's already 6,100? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Were we supposed to look?
You can look if you want, but I want people to guess. No, you're not supposed to look before you guess.
Oh.
Oh, what's it gonna sell for? I think it'll go for about 9.
Yeah, well, you can look now because it's not gonna be final, right? It ends about half an hour, I think.
13 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay, yeah. So my timing was pretty good.
Oh, it'll probably get pulled back by the original registrant.
Yeah.
Okay, well then that's the other question too. Yeah, what are the odds on the getting pulled back? Who knows? Yeah, that's bad. You know what? It's not that as bad as it used to be. It used to be pretty bad, but it's not so bad anymore.
Yeah.
It's a Dynadot that it happens very often, right? People win the auction and then it gets clawed back and they get a refund to their account.
And they probably do that in price too.
How many people are on this call? Arif, how many
There's
people?
Currently 65.
Is anyone actually bidding on that name right now? I'm just genuinely curious. Is someone paying that kind of price for that name?
What name are we talking about?
If you are, I got a great name for you.
CBDtrade.com.
Which one?
CBDtrade.com.
Oh. What's the price right now?
2,400.
Huh?
2,400 right now.
It had a for-sale landing page.
Oh, okay.
2340 right now.
You're right.
Braden just put in a proxy bid for 20K, so you know.
What, you were 15, Jason?
No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't. I don't buy any CBD domains. I don't know the space well, so I wouldn't touch it.
That's a good point. A lot of people, they take a trending keyword and, you know, they just think that's going to be the end all be all, but CBD trade doesn't mean anything. Just because CBD is hot
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but he's also
means
getting
nothing to me.
$2,400 right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not like they're baseball cards, right? Like, what are you going to trade? You know, like you're going to sell it, or you're going to bottle it, or
like a classified site for people to trade CBD amongst each other.
Braden, I agree with you. But like, this is a bad example. Like 2,400 CBD trade. Like I wrote in the chat, pass. What does that even mean? And he probably registered for $8.
Yeah, might as well call it CBDbanana.com. You know, that actually has
right.
Well, but
there are a couple of companies that use that name. I'm not saying that gives it the value that it's being bid up to, but it could be maybe that these two companies are bidding on it. I don't know.
CBD Trade they're using?
Yeah, there's a cbdtrade.co.uk company, and there's a cbdtradecoop.com.
Oh.
And there may be others, but those are the two at the top of the Google page.
So those are the potential buyers, right? Either they're bidding on it or somebody's bidding on it to sell to them.
Yeah, which would be very stupid.
The word
which would be very stupid.
Like the word trade in the U.S. means to swap, right? But it doesn't mean that elsewhere, right?
Yeah, you trade stocks, so you're saying it would be some kind of like a pseudonym for market or synonym for market?
Right. Yeah. But I mean, potentially. And so, I mean, I see a lot of names like this, and, you know, they're like Indian registrants who Indians speak English, but their English is not American English, right? So you see a lot of things like this that to us don't make sense. And then they sell, and I mean, they're never going to go for a ton of value if you don't have the American market, with the exception of like chips, right? You know, that's a big portion of the market, particularly for .com, that you're losing. So I mean, right now, I think at $2,400, it's way overpriced. I don't want that name for free. But there's two companies that have that name.
Come on, for free? Come on.
I really couldn't care less about having that name for more than like $20
Hey,
as well.
The Indian English you speak of is British English, by the way. So it's just, you know, there is a market for not the US.
Yeah, well, but that's what I'm referring to. So you're right. It's the Queen's English, but with an Indian twist.
Yes. It just sounds like this, right?
Or more of a just
not
a first language English type of translation. You know, they know the language, but not enough to know the nuances, I guess, is what it is.
Right. They don't know the nuances of British English, and they don't know the nuances of American English. It's Indian English, right? to us, you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. But I've been to India a couple times, and that's the way they speak, right? So for them, it's fine.
Well, CBD trade could also be referring to industry, right?
Yeah,
that's a good point, Thomas. I mean, I was thinking, you know, if there were somebody who had a publication or some sort of maybe an index or industry tracker, I could see that happening. But I kind of revert back to Braden's principled answer. You know, I think there's a really simple way to look at this is the longer it takes for somebody to have to talk you into why something would be valuable, the less valuable it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt that this name should be up there. I think CBD is a popular word. Trade is a short ending. It's probably in the top 50 of lean domain search ending. It's late in the day on a Friday, so everyone who missed stuff during the day, they got one chance left to look at the most active auctions, and they see this, and it goes for more than it should. But it seems kind of par for the course, doesn't it? I don't think this is. We've seen a lot more outlandish, haven't we?
I'm going to put all my shitty domains up for sale, auction, I mean.
You can't.
Now's the time.
Both of them?
Everything's getting bid up.
How much for keys.com again?
So there's a lot. There's one thing I'll say. There's a lot of shitty names that go for high prices on GoDaddy expired auctions because of the keywords. And it's not necessarily whether the keywords go well together. It's more about, like what Paige said, just the pure inherent value of each one of those keywords individually. So, you know, CBD being popular, trade being another popular word, investors put that together as this is a really, really valuable name. So it goes up to $2,400. But in reality, those two words don't mesh well together.
Yeah.
Right. So it's actually not worth that at all. But in the eyes of all these investors, they see a lot more value because of the keywords.
Yeah. I see a hand up.
That may not be there.
Yeah. And I see a hand up from, is it Coleman Russ?
Hey, everybody. How you doing? My first time joining the meeting. Yeah, it's pronounced Common Russ.
Okay.
How's everybody doing?
Common Russ.
How you doing, y'all?
Hi and welcome.
Thank you. I have a question I'm going to retract. I had a couple of kids screaming in the background, so I had to mute my phone.
Appreciate it.
Out of curiosity, a couple of years back, I won 2 domain names, the exact same, the same spelling, same everything, just 2 different extensions. There was a .com and it was a .org. And sure enough, the .com, it successfully went into my account, but the .org was pulled because apparently the original owner, who I know owned both domain names, he decided to keep the .org. And for the last 2 or 3 years, every year it goes into auction, and every year I'm the only bidder, and every year he pulls it again. And I was just wondering if there's any way I have some sort of a case against it, because I think he just keeps putting it to I think he keeps letting it expire just to see if there are any other bidders.
That's what we were talking about before, and that there are some people who do that deliberately. They take advantage of the system to test and see if there are people bidding. And unfortunately, depending on where the domain was hosted, you might not have much recourse.
Yeah, and it could be expensive to do that as well. I mean, depending where you have the domain.
Well, but there's other places where where there's special VIP customers, they don't charge anything extra, right? They'll just let them renew until day 42. I know for the longest time, you always bug GoDaddy about having bugs and stuff like that. But for the longest time, there was a bug where I was able to renew all my domains up until day 42 with no penalty at all. You just have to wiggle things around a bit and play with your card, and it was no problem. Didn't even have to talk to my rep with day 42, but they closed that up at one point. Anyhow,
well,
so
I pay redemption.
There's nothing you can do about that, really. I don't think. Talk to was it on GoDaddy?
It was on GoDaddy. Yeah. They were really nice to me because I paid several $100s for a .com domain name, only on the condition I thought I was getting both domains, the .org. So they were nice to me. They did credit my account. They took good care of me.
They have to credit your account if you don't get the domain, but yeah, there's not much.
No. I mean, they credited my first domain that I won. They gave me the full credit for the amount that I paid. I thought it wasn't right that I won both domains, and so they took really good care of me. But I was just curious if I have a leg to stand on.
What you need to do is check the WHOIS, and if the WHOIS is a registrar other than GoDaddy, chances are it'll keep on happening. If it is at GoDaddy, they changed the rules about 1.5 years ago. So chances are maybe next time you make a bid, it might change. And I think they want to get the other registrars in line with a 30-day rule where people can't renew after that. But whether they'll get that to happen or not.
No, they told me they've been trying to do that. That's what they've been trying to do. But the problem is not all the registrars are willing to work with them on the issue.
And that's correct. I mean, they could. GoDaddy's a big company, right? They could put their foot down and say, look, if you don't do this, we're not going to have your domains in the expiring auctions. But they risk losing all the other domains, so it's a lot of money for them too. So who knows? We'll ask GoDaddy. I don't think anybody else here would really know the answer to that. But
Coleman, if this has happened a couple of times on the same domain, this may not be like a nefarious intent that the guy's waiting to see who's bidding. It could be that he's calendared it at the very last minute to renew it, right? And so that very last minute is after it goes up for auction. So you're bidding on it, even though he just hasn't gotten to renewing it yet, and then he does because he renews it the 11th hour.
Yeah, that's very true, because when that bug at GoDaddy was there, I was renewing on day 41 all the time. And when they closed the bug, I was like, uh-oh, I lost 1 or 2 domains because they were in that window. But, that's true, though.
He could be at Enom or Two Cows, and he could just renew everything at 30 days, like Braden said. Just be a person that just does that and just does it, like you say, every year.
Hey, Coleman,
I got a little quick hit if we move topics. Let me know when we move topics.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, we can change now. I had something else lined up, but go for it. Paige, what's up?
Okay.
This is just a little, so on Fridays, I reconcile all my accounts with different registrars.
Yeah.
Make sure everything I think is in there, change name servers on new names, and just kind of do housekeeping. But I noticed something interesting. If you have names at Uniregistry, and talking about late renewals brought this up, most of the time, if you renew a name after expiration date, it'll revert back to the name servers that you had set for it before the expiration date. Does everybody kind of follow me on that?
Yep. It goes to that expired name servers and it doesn't switch back automatically.
After expiration, but then when you renew it, it usually goes back to Sudo or ParkLogic or wherever you have it, Dan or Afternic. But I noticed for the last couple months, all my unit registry names, I probably had a third of them that were still on the expired ones, even though I had renewed them. So I don't know, it has to do with the GoDaddy changeover or whatever, but I used to always just assume, even if I renewed them late, they'd go back to the original name servers, but I had to change about 150 of them because they were still on the Uniregistry lander. So that's just a heads up to anyone who's got Uniregistry names. If you renew them after expiration, your name servers probably got moved and they probably won't move back. So that's what I noticed today out there in the wild.
Interesting. Hey, thank you all. Great discussion, and wanted to jump in and maybe get things back on track. Arif has had taken the time to make a PowerPoint, kind of keep us going. We're of course trying to keep the momentum that Mike Seiger, really put in motion. So Arif, I wanted to give you the chance to pop that up on the screen.
Great, thanks. Okay, so before anything else, this week was the last week I asked Mike to send the emails. So as of this week, there'll be no more emails coming from Mike Seiger. So make sure you email info@the-domain social to get future info for the future, the next few weeks of socials, or just follow the domain social, .com on Twitter, just @the-domain social. There's no .com at the end. It's an account I set up, so every week I'll put the info there as well at the last minute. People will come in. And so I guess next, that was CB Trade. We already talked about that. Somebody has an incoming offer. David, are you there? David?
Yes, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
So yeah, I can hear you. Great. You had an incoming offer this week, I think it was?
Yeah, for the last couple of weeks, actually.
For Dozen.com. So how about you tell us about it?
So it's a coin term. I think it means something. It's a first name in Philippines and maybe some other countries. I bought it a year ago. There's a video game that's just started last year, but it's like an indie game, so it's really poor. So I don't think they can afford it. I don't know who else might be the buyer, but there's a few other people using Design as handles on Twitter and Instagram. So I listed for $4,000, and I got these offers starting at $1,500. Now it's at $1,650. What do you guys think about it? Is it a valuable domain? Am I selling it too cheap?
Have you come down?
Yeah, I came down to 37.50, I think.
And have they ghosted you?
No, though they ghosted me for a week, and then they just came with a new offer this morning for $1,650. So they started off at $1,500, they went up to $1,600, and now they're at $1,650.
Wait. Just tell them you can't sell it that low. Thank you very much.
Well, I can. It's on Sato, so my option is to put it on auction, or just do I wait, or do I counteroffer?
Well, I mean, if you put it on auction, it's not going to necessarily help you unless there's other bidders.
Right. I don't know. Like, I'm just wondering from the previous discussion, do auctions get more attention?
So the offer came through Sato?
Yes.
Oh, that's a bummer. So you don't have any contact with them.
I have no idea who the buyer is.
Yeah, you only have that counter offer. I hate their interface.
Yeah.
Well, now I've actually had it be the case in a Sato transaction when they get to the point that they've consummated and agreed and you get everything ready to go, there's a period of time after which Sato will reveal who the person was who entered into the buying contract. You can find that in the documents on the domain.
Right.
If they don't come through.
But if it's MLS, then you're SOL.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You might want to just hold out. I mean, 3750, whatever you're at now. I mean, it's not that high. I wouldn't come down that much lower. I mean, to spend $3,500 or $3,700 on a name, it's not much. I mean, it's kind of still in the sweet spot, the $2,500 to $3,500 sweet spot. Yeah, I mean, they made you wait for a week. Why don't you make them wait for a week?
All right. Okay.
I hope you don't lose the deal and then come back and blame me.
That's always the risk.
Well, you're in an interesting spot with Sato. If you counter, then they're off the hook for their offer.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of thinking I might want to take it, then you should definitely wait, because a rush to counter won't give you the opportunity to take that 1,600. You'll have lost it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that happened to me.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Let us know next week, I guess, what happens.
All right, will do.
Strangely enough, I actually today got a couple emails regarding a domain I have. I got a email through GoDaddy from a domain agent's broker. The domain was actually twice has happened to me this week. The domain is nice and long, CaliforniaSolarPower.com. So CaliforniaSolarPower.com, all one word, no hyphens. Well,
that's a great domain name.
Yeah. So I got the email. Let me see what it was earlier on through GoDaddy. I replied to GoDaddy. I replied to the agent directly, because through GoDaddy it was just like the who is type of thing, and I wrote him back saying, "What's the offer?" Then he goes to me. He goes, "Our client has made an opening offer of 2,000 USD. It's an initial offer, open to counter offer. If you would prefer to respond directly, you can go through domain agent's interface." Okay, all that blah blah blah. So I replied to him. Let me show you my reply to the agent, to the broker. Replied to him. Meanwhile, I'm working on all the other stuff, and it's like, what's going on? Sent. Here we go. There we go. So I told him, I know it's solar and solar is valuable, but it's also, it's 3 words, right? So, and I don't know. So I said, you can counter at 65 and you have my permission to sell at 5K or above. If you don't, I say you have permission to sell at 5K or above if you don't hear back from me in time, like if he's in live negotiations. So then I just received another email. And where is it? So the counter offer, here we go. So the final counter offer was $4,000. So I haven't replied to that one yet. I might put it up, and it looked like he wanted payments of it would be over a year. So I think it was 33 per month, which doesn't bother me. It's a stable income, but So what do you guys think I should
did you
do?
say this was through domainagents.com, or did you use the word domain agent generically?
No, a domainagents.com broker contacted me through GoDaddy.
How
The
does
Whois
that-
through GoDaddy. It's happened me a couple of times now because I think the Whois has changed. So the domain agent can't see my email anymore. So they send it through, I guess, through some automated system, and I get it. And the way it works, GoDaddy, I can just reply, and it replies to the person themselves. So it was the domain agent's email.
Yeah, you can think, well, part of that was GDPR, but also all of the telemarketing spam and things that customers were being faced with. So GoDaddy and many other registrars, my registrar does this as well, is there's a form where you can contact the registrant, and it anonymizes it so as to help with that process.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's the second time this week I received a similar email from the same broker at Domain Agents for two different domains.
But hey, Jonathan, didn't it used to be in terms of whether the registrar would forward a mail through the old privacy stuff, that was only for like super duper legal stuff? Normally, maybe just for a inquiry, or is that something domain agents kind of worked out where they said, hey, we're a trusted provider of offers, real live offers to people, and they'll let theirs go through? What do you think?
So it's definitely the first of those. Like I could go through and make that same communication through the registrar. There's no implied trusted relationship or anything like that. It's
I
any
think there was
party.
a real high bar. Yeah, but not really then is what you're saying.
Mileage varies on the privacy provider, honestly. There is a variety of different privacy proxy services out there. Some will forward things, some will not. Some are the registrant, some are not. It really varies. So there's not really one answer here, but the specific case of how the GoDaddy behaves is such that there is a form. The form will then, put you in touch with the registrant that they have on file.
And I definitely want to get back to the offer part of it. I was just diverting into that because maybe
it's a good question. Yeah,
this isn't really privacy. This is the default protection that GoDaddy's offering to everybody. So maybe that's not the same as someone who actually said, I'm paying for privacy to not be contacted. This is just in this default GDPR whatever status. So.
Oh wait, Arif, you said you have contact with the buyer?
No, through the agent. Well, actually, it's through Domain Agents, right? So I just pulled it up now. I was getting ready for the show, running around, going to get the auctions organized, and I just saw this. They came back with the counter offer right away. And here, the buyer comment within the Domain Agents platform is, thanks for the opportunity. I would like to put this URL active and get it rolling. We are a small solar company that is working on growing. Thanks, and then this is his first name.
And Arif, what was the offer via payment? What was the down?
So let me see here. Where did I see 333? I don't know. Oh, here we go. Monthly payments, yeah, 330. So there was no down payment. I do the math, and 333 would be 12 equal payments.
So why don't you counter with like 3 different options? Why don't you counter at, listen, you could have this.
See, my thought was I was going to counter, because I already, my high was 65, right? So I was going to say, okay, 5K cash or 15 payments of 400, which would be, yeah, somebody doing math for me. I am good at math, except for when I'm on the spot.
6,000.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly 6,000. So
yeah, but you want some cash up front. So, I mean, give them, the 5K, give them a discounted version of that.
I know
with something.
I know with Domain Agents, it's going to go through escrow. Does escrow have that option with a down payment? Oh, they do?
Well, but whatever you put into the user interface, basically on Domain Agents, for those of you, I don't know if you're familiar with it, Jason, or not, but you basically, it's a counter offer system that's very binary. So you basically, you put forth what you want. You can put a little comment. They can put forth a counter offer. You as the seller have the opportunity to put some kind of payment plan in place in front of them, but it's a one shot. And that essentially just rolls directly into escrow.com. It's configured such that, it's all automated. So there's not really an option to give them, plan A, plan B, plan C kind of solution.
Gotcha. No, I wasn't familiar.
Okay. So
but I'm guessing I could go through the broker and have him email them to
you could.
But the only thing is that I don't know if escrow. With all my sales through escrow have been cash deals, one shot. So I don't know if escrow. I know they offer monthly payments, but I don't know if they offer monthly payments with a down payment that's larger than the other payments. Has anybody done that before with escrow?
No. But I think one thing to come back and just loop around on.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I've done it, and you can totally customize however you want to set up the payment plan. So you just have to tell them. And in fact, if you're setting it up yourself, you can specify the down payment amount, and then you can totally customize everything. And if you can't do it through the interface, you can email them, and they'll set it up for you however you want. So yes, it can be done.
Perfect. All right, great. Thanks, guys.
You can also do it at the Epic escrow as well.
And we got off onto the tangent, I think, of domain agents versus GoDaddy, because a lot of us will receive offers, specifically from GoDaddy. Like somebody will go in and use GoDaddy's buyer service. So in this case, the domain happens to be at GoDaddy as the registrar,
correct,
but the offer came through domain agents.
Correct. And you want to know something even funnier? The other domain that I got a similar email from the same broker at domain agents earlier on this week. It's a different domain, which I won't say now because I'm asking a little bit more for it, and it's still up in the air. But I received, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, I received an email through the GoDaddy interface again, similarly from the broker about the domain, and I replied to him. I go, "What's the offer?" And I replied back, and then I didn't hear back for a day and a half. And right before I heard back from them, I get a call from the 480 area code, which everybody knows is GoDaddy, right? And from their buyer service for the same domain.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, so I had a broker from domain agents who wanted to work on that domain, and a GoDaddy buyer service broker at the same time. So I felt a little bit weird. So I told the GoDaddy broker a price, and then an hour later, when I got the email back from the domain agent guy, I told him, look, you guys charge 10%, GoDaddy charges 15%. I want the same net price, so you'll end up being cheaper. You were first, and I'll give you the opportunity to be cheaper because for both sides, it's the buyer who pays the commission.
I'd be careful with that, Arif, just in the sense, if it's a large item, both brokerage services could have an argument that they deserve a commission because they were involved.
That's the thing. I don't know if it's the same buyer or not. I'm assuming it is, and I didn't sign anything with either of them. Like I didn't punch anything in. It was basically just and the only reason I said a price to the GoDaddy agent was because the domain agent guy didn't get back to me a day and a half. At that point in time.
If he hasn't hired them as the broker on the sell side, if you will, then they're not owed anything unless they get a successful transaction, right?
Oh, you know how courts are. I mean, look, you get Elmer Fudd up on the bar on the dais, could rule any direction, right?
It's called procuring cause. I mean, definitely that's what it is in real estate and or business brokerage, and it's something similar. It's I guess technically a business asset is how you could define it, but I don't know case law on the domain side, but I mean, unless there's a transaction, even if they negotiate it or they say, look, I've got 10,000 emails going back and forth, unless there was an exclusive listing agreement, if you will, so.
And with GoDaddy, they didn't
talk about a $500 commission. No one's suing anybody here.
Yeah. and not only that, but GoDaddy, the GoDaddy rep hasn't even emailed me back, so I couldn't even write him back. I forgot his name. It was I was excited. It's not okay. And then I had all these other things going on in my life right now. I'm like, okay, yeah, here's the price. And then I was like, okay. Then the guy from Domain Agents wrote me back finally, and like, okay, I gave him the same price, but I couldn't get back in touch with the GoDaddy agent even if I wanted to. And I told the other guy at Domain Agents, I did get an offer through GoDaddy, and I gave him that price. I'm giving you the same price. So, and I know you charge 10%, the other guy charges 15%. So, like, I certainly don't have anything in writing with GoDaddy because I don't even know who the broker is. And with GoDaddy, like, oftentimes they don't get back to you for a couple of weeks. Sometimes you got to get back from a week later and go, what happened? Oh, well, the buyer never got back to us. Well,
So do you think the buyer was just going through two different places?
I think so, but you never know, right? I've only had the domain for about a month, so it could be two. If I had it for 2 years, I would say 100% it's the same buyer.
Yeah.
But it's a call to action domain, and it's not like a huge domain. I'm hoping to get super low 5 figures, but like I'm good in the upper 4. And it's we'll see what happens.
It's the same buyer. The buyer doesn't know. He hasn't heard back from GoDaddy, so he found it listed again.
And what's even funnier is he already paid $89 for it, right? Because it's $20 through domain agents to contact me, and then it's $59 through, or even $69 I think through GoDaddy.
69.
Yeah, so he already paid $89 so I'm slow and steady. I'm not going to respond too quick, too fast, because he obviously really wants the domain.
Arif, where's the domain parked right now?
It's at GoDaddy. Oh, parked?
Yes.
It's not parked yet. It's nothing yet, because I just got the domain. I got the domain a few weeks ago.
Maybe you can park it the 10 seconds after you get it. I think that's a lost opportunity if this guy has to go through 10 brokers to chase you around and try and find out who owns it versus being able to go to and find you.
Right now, my instinct was if it was just one, I probably would put it up. But like now, the brokers have already made their efforts. I would feel a little scummy sort of putting up a lander with a buy it now going over their heads for both of them. I don't know. You don't think so?
Do you know what the biggest takeaway of this is? It's price your names and put up a landing page as soon as you get them.
There you go.
Josh is the best. He's, one of these days I'm gonna be finished with all that, and Josh would be the first person I call. All right. Anyway, so enough about my stuff. We have a few people who submitted domains for review. We're gonna get to that. I'm gonna share screen again. I'm getting used to this. Here we go. So the first one up is sharingfund.com. So I'd like to know what you guys all think about this. Let me see if I remember who the owner is. Is the owner here right now? I hope so.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about it.
Dimas, are you there? Well, you can talk about it anyways.
The person has to be here to talk about it.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right,
Yeah.
Dimas, you there?
Next.
Last chance. Next. All right. Next one. I'll ask the person's here first this time. Ellie, are you there? Oh, Ellie is there. I can see him right there. All right.
Yeah, I'm here.
Ellie, okay. And the domain in question is a really interesting one. It's NGTLD. It's Peer Trade. Usually I'm not big on NGTLDs, but when the left matches the right, it kind of makes sense a bit.
Well, if it was CBD.trade, maybe.
If it was what?
CBD.trade.
Oh.
If it was D.trade. Now, if it was CBD.trade, hey.
Yeah, it'd be worth thousands for sure.
Of course.
Hey, by the way, CBD.trade, it sold for $24.65. So if you want to know about that, yeah, $24.65. That was the price.
All right. Well, anyway, so let's get back to the domain itself here. Pure.trade. You guys, anybody have any thoughts on .trade?
Yeah. Okay.
Would that make it into DNWE?
Which one? That new one?
Yeah, the new one.
Pure.trade.
No comment. No comment.
Did I miss something?
Why is it that you guys are shying away from this domain? Because it's a .trade? Or because
I didn't even know there was a .trade.
Exactly. I just found
Didn't know there's a .trade either.
So is this name, is there a starting bid?
No, just for review.
It's not an auction. This is a review. I just want people.
Oh, I was going to put $20 in. Fuck it.
Yeah, well, what do you guys?
I would trade that for the .com easily.
Like, what do you think Ellie should put for retail?
I quite like the name at retail. I think at retail you can ask like 10K or maybe even more. But I just think from an investor standpoint, you could I wouldn't even take it because I don't know, probably because the renewal is too high.
Yeah, no, this isn't the auction portion. This is just review. Like somebody Elio owns this domain, and he just wants to know what you guys think of it.
What is Pure Trade?
Peer, P-E-E-R.
Yeah, but what is the meaning of it?
What basically? Go ahead.
Yeah,
let me just say. Let me just say this. I don't think that this isn't it isn't a case of the left of the dot and the right of the dot matching perfectly. What it would have to be, like the user, because it's not, it doesn't make sense completely by itself. What it would probably be, it would be some kind of brand that's called peer in the trading industry. And then otherwise it doesn't quite work, because it's not P2P, it's peer.trade. You know, it's not an exact match name.
What are you trading? Peers? I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but peer to peer. That's why I thought it was okay, because I thought it would be not really a brandable, because the word still works as peer to peer, but a short version of it. No.
It only works as a brandable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well,
But the brandable is still a strong enough word within context of the TLD. Like peer to peer trade is a thing, right? So I just thought peer would be like.
But are you like trading Braden for Amar or something, or what do you? You trading your peers? I mean, I don't get the name.
Ellie, why don't you share with us what you thought, why you got this domain?
Okay, so one of the reasons why I bought the name was I did some research to see, if the .com, like peertrade.com or .net was already in use, which I believe it was registered. So, and I did more research. It has to do with, for example, if peer-to-peer, like Bitcoin trading, or like trading books or trading items, for example, even like trading cars, where you can swap your car for something else. So that was the idea behind. So I didn't want to use the word peer trading. That's kind of like progressive. So I prefer the word peer trade. Like you and I get together to like swap items. So that was the idea behind when I registered the domain name. And to answer, somebody asked about what is the cost to renew it. Funny enough, it's $3.
3?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That changes a lot too.
Can I ask how much you paid for it? P2P.trade is expiring. If you want to, like, to me, that might be a good one to have, if you like that type of brand. I like Pure Trade as a brand. I don't know, if you'll ever sell it, but it's not bad. But you might as well get P2P.trade if it's cheap enough.
That's it.
Can you throw up a poll if that's considered throwing bad money after good?
Well,
we know what you think.
No. He owns. No. I want to make a point saying that peer.trade is a lot different, but we've also brought this up in past socials where, Joelle has mentioned she's bought a lot of extensions, and Mike made a point where, it may not be worth throwing good money after bad or bad money after good. So if you like peer.trade, should he invest in, P2P?
Well, the P2P is the term.
P2P
right?
is a better name.
Right,
Yes.
that's the term. And so I was just pointing out to him that it's expiring. And if he really likes peer.trade, then he might as well go get P2P if it's dropping or if it's cheap enough. And then he can decide which one he likes better or if he likes them both.
That might add some value.
I'm not suggesting he go out and spend a lot of money and register peer dot, everything or P2P dot everything.
That might actually be a good bundle too. That could positively affect that. I mean, I saw .trade immediately and I was like, okay, all right. I see a lot of the cryptocurrency exchanges and some of the other uses of places where more technically apt or developer types are straying away from the use of really the .com religion and are going into using the NTLDs or CCTLDs. So it's not a bad name at all. I think Amar's got a good point that if you bundle it with P2P, it really secures, if there is somebody with an aspiration that would take and use it, you've got kind of both category killer names.
And I'll say that us, like developers, like the geek side of me, I just like having a cheap domain to put some cool little project up on. It has nothing to do with the domain when I'm in developer mode. But once they get to the side of actually wanting people to use their project, they would, that's when their story changes. And that's when the money comes into play too.
Yeah.
I think you have to think, how sellable is this domain name? And when you look at Google and when you look and see what other extensions are taken for the term peer trade, you see that it's almost non-existent. So I don't see any demand for this phrase personally. Peer trade is only registered in the .com, no other extension that I can see on DOFO. And peertrade.com forwards to the American Red Cross, which is kind of interesting. So I don't know, personally I'd be very cautious about this. $3 is okay for a lottery ticket, but I don't know if I'd want to invest any more money in this term personally.
Well, I think there's also one other thing that I just wanted to mention real quick, and it's an unpopular opinion. I'll probably get some hate mail after this, probably immediately after this. But if you're an investor that's kind of just getting started, or even if you're an investor like myself that's only been around for a little while, I would strongly suggest not investing in TLDs like .trade, because if peertrade.com has a, let's say, 1% chance of selling, peer.trade has a 100th less chance of selling than that. So it's just, I mean, it's an inferior lottery ticket, and you're not an end user, right? As an end user, peer.trade looks great. I can see a good reason why you might choose that, as well as the .com, or maybe even instead of the .com if it's priced correctly. But as an investor, unfortunately, that holds no value in your given market, because, like someone asked, would that go on DNWE? It couldn't, because we have zero sales history on .trade. So how could we accept that name?
I just am thinking of something, because something positive to say. Let's say it could be an acronym, for a firm that is involved in trades. PEER could stand for something, or the first letter of the partner's names.
That's a reach. I mean, the likelihood of that is so remote. It's hard enough to sell a 4L.com.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the 4L.trade is never happened.
See, the thing is, either peer trade is a thing, and in which case there could be a buyer, or it's not a thing, in which case then peertrade.com would be an affordable option if somebody had those initials.
Right, it's a brandable .com. Like, you can buy that .com for typically under $5,000. So
sounds like I think with these type of names. Hold on a second. It sounds like it needs to be built, because the little bit of passion that you have for it comes from envisioning what a website would look like on it. And for $3, you could gain some prestige by having this simple, easy, short name. But it sounds like you're picturing what a website would be, not just owning the domain. You're picturing the power of what a website would be. But I think everyone here is talking about just domain, you know what I mean? But if you've got that vision, then I would get in there, and even if you just created a Facebook group, and that sounds like that's where your passion is. Maybe not to say that you have a liquid domain that's easily worth that, but that you actually want to build it. And if so, then I would build it. I don't think you can anticipate that 1,000 people are going to do that around the world, and then 30 of them are going to think about buying a name for it, and then 2 will find you and then buy this name. So that's where the liquidity isn't there to get a buyer. But as
turning it into a Facebook group or something, that's a nice way to build a little brand on it for sure.
All right. Well, I guess, Ellie, let us know what happens with it, I guess. Yes. And so I have another one here. Final one for review is xvds.com. So it's, I guess, xvids.com.
Yeah, this is fun.
Sorry, it's Philip. There you are. Yeah. Is it Philip or Felipe or?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Well, I registered this domain because first it's for 4letters.com. So it has and also I was considering that I would get a lot of typos for X videos, and I was kind of right. I got like 1,000 visits per month on this domain. Wow. It's parked on Salo, but they don't pay anything, like less than $1 per month for all these visits. So, and I have a reference that I sold the domain a couple months ago. It's also a four-letter.com, a gdpz.com. A Chinese guy paid $2,000. So I think this domain can be more valuable than this gdpz.com that I sold. So I would like to know your opinion about it.
I don't know. The first thing that came to my mind when I saw the X, it's like XVD sufferers. So anyway, so it didn't seem to have an appeal to me. I don't know. So for that reason, I don't. I mean, it's 4 words. I mean, 4 letters. I don't think anything like that spells. I can understand maybe a short for videos, perhaps, and then you did get some typos, but it does conjure up an image of XVD sufferers in my mind.
All right.
1,000 type-ins is not bad at all. I mean, you know, that's pretty good. Even though they are going to a wrong website, maybe you can convert some of those to a different thing.
I type it in Google, I get a lot of adult sites as a return. Because of the X, I guess. And also it's being interpreted as videos. The VDS seems to come up as videos.
Popular one, which is why he said he registered it. He was looking to get that typo traffic, which it's still too many characters off from actual typo traffic. But, you know, I don't see it. And I don't see how the GDPZ has a relation to it, just other than being another, as a comp for, you know, aside from just being another random 4 letters that don't really spell anything unless you got really creative. Like,
yeah, I agree with Jason. And if on that note, why don't you reach out to that buyer and see if he's interested in this name?
Because it's
Not
got
much of a shortener.
Because it's got a V.
Yes, I think because of this V, they don't like it.
It's not a good 4L. It's not a good for the Western market, and it's not good for the Chinese market. That's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think JVDS I could see sold about a year ago for 300 and something, probably wholesale. And I actually don't think this one's as good as that one. So, you know, I think on the wholesale side, you're, you know, looking in 100 to probably 200 range. If anyone cared about probably what wholesale is on it. Retail, you know, I don't know.
All right. Thank you.
No. I just received an offer a few minutes ago by text, a guy I've been talking to for a couple of days on one of my names. I can share with you guys. The name is recognize.com. I have it listed at $1,250,000. And I just got a $300,000 offer. What do you guys think?
Low ball.
That's the first offer from him?
Well, not exactly. He said that he's looking, I actually coincidentally know this guy. I've sold him names before. I've done acquisitions for him. He's a billionaire. He can afford it. But he values names what he values them for, and that's what he's willing to pay. And
every time you bring up one of your awesome domains and these awesome 6-figure offers you get for it, I feel like I should, you know, hang up my hat and get out of the business. But aside from that, no, I love what you're doing. And the questions that always comes to mind is real quick is, what was your acquisition cost, if you are willing to share that, and how long have you held it, and, you know, kind of those things that are, you know what I mean? That's where my brain goes immediately, you know. So.
And Braden, is it recognize or recognized?
Recognize, no D.
Oh, D. Okay, thank you.
How does that compare with other offers you've received on the name?
Wow.
Sorry, compare it to other offers?
Yeah, how does that compare to other offers you've received?
I don't, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm sure I've gotten offers, but nothing that was meaningful. Oh,
hi.
What's that? Oh, so anyways, I mean, I see this as a technology play, product recognition, not facial recognition, but product recognition is the thing that's going to have a massive impact on the internet. That's why I bought the name. And that's why it's priced as high as it is. Funny thing is, the buyer isn't going to use it for that. He wants to use it for his private equity fund. He likes that name, but he's looking at some other names, and they're all in the $100,000 range. He likes this one better, so he's willing to go up to 300. But I think he's going to tap out beyond that. So should I just take my chips off the table, or should I wait until the technology comes around and I can?
I think that's a great price, Braden. I don't want to say great price, but I definitely think that's a fair, reasonable end user price for that name. Especially there's two spellings of it.
Yeah.
Yep. Recognized,
so,
recognizing.
Well, and it can be with a Z or an S.
X, yep.
So there's, obviously the Z is the bigger, more common spelling, but there's enough of the world that uses the S that I think that hurts it a little bit. I think a one and a quarter ask is pretty rich for that name. Obviously, we know you would take less, but I don't think that's a bad price.
I agree, and the Estibot is 114K for that, and I don't know how savvy he is if he tries to evaluate it, and that's what he's going to find. So if he's already offering 3 times as much as that, I think that's a very, very fair price for it.
I think, Braden, doing the 1.25 ask was a great move, and I think you've earned your money by doing that. You've moved this name into the mid 6-figure by going to 7-figure, and someone's almost embarrassed to offer you 300 because of where you put your expectations. So I think you've got a great return on that move, to put it in the luxury car dealer, the super luxury car dealer. And it sounds like you're going to have some conversations here and just try to get them to move up a little bit to 425. And, you catch them on the right day with the market up, you might get it. But yeah, I think you got them in the right range. So.
So initially I got this inquiry through the lander, and it's this guy that I know. I sent him a text. I'm like, I just received an inquiry from you. And, he says, small world. But my price was already on there, thankfully. I didn't, so he knows it's really legitimately my asking price, and it's not because I know that he's very wealthy. So that's good. And he said, I don't know if that's a real price, but it's too rich for us because we're looking at names in the $100,000 range. He says, so, would you come down? And I said, well, for you, I would do high 6 figures, but that's it. And then he came back with this $300,000 offer.
Braden, I think the points that Amar and Paige made were really valid. And on top of that,
they knew. Really? Come on.
But on top of that, the buyer, what he has in the bank, he's looking at other names. So if he's willing to offer you 300K, obviously this is his top name. But if you push too hard, I definitely think you should try to negotiate, but if you push too hard, he obviously has backups.
You could ask for a favor. Kind of put a favor in your pocket from him down the road for doing this, and you never know how that might pay off for you.
Can I ask you a question, Braden?
Who wanted to ask the question?
I did, Braden. Albert, quick question. On the domain names where you kind of stall on and you're not 100% sure, from the time you buy them, have you ever, to the time you get an offer, obviously, have you ever had buyer's remorse you thinking you pay too much on them?
Sure. Yeah, I have overpaid because I get caught up in an auction and I'm trying to beat Adam Strong or something. I mean, beat him. I punch him in the head when I'm sitting.
And then like, are you like, okay, great, I got an offer on it?
Well, look, I mean, sometimes I think that I've overpaid, particularly if I don't get a lot of offers, if there's not much traction. If I get a lot of offers, that's more telling to me. It's more popular. There's more interest. It's more likely that I'm going to get the price that I want. Recognize.com, I've gotten. I mean, I can't tell you. I have to look it up, but I certainly have gotten offers on that name, and I was thrilled with the price, and I've got no problem waiting anyway.
So, I mean, like if you haven't had any remorse on a name or something, then you might want to wait a little longer. But if you have a little remorse on buying a domain name or after you close until you get, I think you mentioned one last week, then it may very well be worth selling it. And that way you get it off, you get it off and you go buy a better one.
Yeah, it might be worth seeing if you can buy for 150 out there in the marketplace, and then you'll really know if 300 is too low. If you're like, I can't get anything I like twice as much as this for 200.
You can. So you definitely can.
You could, but I'm just saying, if that's when though. That's when it's too low. When you're like, because I assume you're not in a position of needing to turn assets into cash. So then but if you can find something you kind of like at 150 and you can have that and you like it twice as much as recognized and you'll have 150 in the bank, that's kind of an easy way to make it a binary decision. I always think of Braden's deals. I just take the zeros off. So I think for me, this is, I asked 12.5 and someone offered me 3,000, so that makes it maybe for some of us, we can just take a couple zeros off and see what we do. So
I like that. I like that page. I 100% agree. I think that if you know what's out there in the market, which Braden obviously knows because he's, constantly sees all the best names that are coming to the market, he could have an idea for what can be a replacement for that and how much cash he would have left over to, get maybe 2 or 3 more replacements. I agree that Recognize is probably in its infancy in terms of value. There's definitely more upside there, but 300K is a really strong offer, in my opinion. It's a really strong offer.
Thanks for sharing, Braden. By the way, that's neat.
Braden, I have a question. Let's say you sell it for that $300,000, but you truly wanted 7 figures. As far as your business goes, does this send a message that, for future sales that you can be offered a lot less than what you expected? And what's the impact of that if you do this bend for this name, for this person? Can that impact how others will negotiate with you in the future?
That's a great point.
I don't think so. The last name that I sold, was a guy that didn't know me, right? The next name I sell will be somebody else that doesn't know who I am. I don't think that this is going to add anything or take away from my reputation, because I don't think I have a reputation to the outside world, right? To the person who's like, hey, I want to buy xyz.com, and they look it up and it's my name and they reach out. And I don't think it affects my reputation with you guys either, right? It would be a great return.
Braden, would you agree or disagree that regardless if the sale went public, even if this was the same guy that came back to you a year later for a different name, every name is a different scenario and different price point and a different negotiation?
Yeah.
So I think that answers Joel's question.
Yeah, I mean, look, if he came back to me, it would certainly be a different scenario, because the chances are if he came back to me for a name, what are the chances that I owned it, right? Because I've actually done acquisitions for this guy years ago. So he was a client of mine, and it's totally a coincidence that I happen to own a name that he wants, because he went to the landers and inquired, and he didn't know it was mine, right? And so I have a better shot at selling him this name as opposed to him buying one of the other names, because he knows who the seller is. So that's good. The question is, are they willing to spend as much money when they've got, 5 names they're looking at and they're all $50,000 to $100,000. It's hard to say, well, look, I want $1.25 million for this one, or $1 million, or whatever that number is. And the other guys and this guy has a fairly good understanding of domains, but his partners, I don't think do. But they're going to weigh it, right? They're going to say $1 million versus 100,000. Why are we going to spend 10 times as much? They'd have to really, really want it. We can make a case for 300,000. I think that's what he's doing, is he's making a case for 300,000 that they do like it the best, and they're willing to spend at least 3 times as much. But are they going to spend 10 times? I don't know. I've so far I've not accepted the 300. I'm actually trying to trade, because it's a private equity fund, and I would rather take the full asking price in equity in this fund, and that's what I'm trying to do, because his fund will turn. It's a $1 billion fund, so it'll turn like 25% a year or something. So I'd rather compound 25% a year for 5 years and then extract $3 million from it. So that's
next level. Next level stuff right there.
Left out that key negotiating strategy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have to put 300K out. You'd be like, hey, listen, how about we just trade your paper for my paper, done. And then there you go. You got a game plan.
Yeah, and he's open to the trade. And so the question is, at what value? And so I'm saying, look, I want the full value, because it's a non-cash transaction. And he's saying, but we're valuing it at 300,000. So that's where we are. And literally, I've been texting him during this. I mean, the first.
You're negotiating a non-cash transaction with somebody who, from what you've described as cash, is not a problem. So that's where if it was a different situation, take Mike and Phone.com, for example. There's continued equity with a third ownership of what probably today is valued at 30 million, whatever, in sales annual. I don't know what their cap is for Phone.com. He'll own a third of that forever, because he put that into it, and they didn't have the ability to give him whatever he wanted for Phone.com 9 years ago or whenever.
Right, and I have deals like that. I'm actually negotiating another one right now for cash and equity. So I do that all the time, because it's typically startups. This is not. This guy is not a startup.
This
right?
sounds different. Yeah.
They've got plenty of money. So his partners might say, we don't want to mess with that. Let's just pay him and be done with it.
Correct. Yeah. I would honestly, Brayden, I would just sit back a little and let him come back to you. I wouldn't, that's what I would do if I was exactly where you've described. I just sit back a little and say, hey, listen, I would love to, do it at 1.25 and do a trade, non-cash transaction. And they're going, no, we don't want this. And just, I don't know how long this has been going on, but I would say, or come to me at something that makes a little more sense, and then, open it up to meeting in between. If you meet in between on 300 versus 1.25, you're still at 700 and change.
Yeah, Brayden, I think you've correctly identified the highest and best use case, to use a Mike Seiger term. And I think that if you sell it at a discount, you're almost, selling it short. And those are huge numbers that a lot of us have trouble imagining. But at the same time, I think you're on the right track, because you did slide in the equity part at the end. I mean, if you can make a number work that you're satisfied with equity, or maybe even cash plus equity, maybe they do the 100,000 that they're looking at other names for, and some percentage of the difference, hopefully on the high side in equity, then I think that's a win-win all around.
Yeah, I mean, the hard part is that I can't really squeeze him, because he's got the cash. So it's not like he doesn't have the money and can't afford it, which is typically the position I'm in with these startups that only have so much money. And so I can say, look, I'll take X and then the rest in equity or some such thing like that, or payments. But he's not there, right? So he can just.
But Brayden, you're on the flip side of that. you're also not the typical domain investor that he could squeeze out. So you have a foot up on him where you could provide different alternatives that he could cater to. I mean, you're not, you know, me or everyone else on the show where, you know, we would say, yeah, we'll take the 300K or, you know, try to negotiate, but you have a foot up. You've had past dealings with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have a leg up in this negotiation. It's just how you want it to go. Do you want equity? Do you want cash plus equity? It's what's your opportunity cost? Do you want 300K right now to invest in other names you're looking at? Or do you want $3 million in 5 years from now? But I think you're in the strong position to make that decision.
Yeah, I would prefer, because I know this guy, he just sold his company for 13 billion and his partner's company is worth 40 billion. They know what they're doing. So I would rather, you know, can't beat him, join him, right? I'd rather go along for the ride. So I'd rather take the equity. The question is, how much?
Braden,
Braden.
we have a question with somebody with their hand up in the queue here.
That's me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I would just want you to explore a little bit, Braden, about this new technology, that the reason that you got the name in the first place, and what the odds are and how much you could make if you hold on and wait till that new technology comes about.
Yeah, I think that's good feedback. You know, recognition, visual recognition, face recognition, these technologies are at an early phase. And, you know, even if it's just vanity, you know, somebody wanted to have like a, you know, I'm awesome social network or something. Those are some areas that could be, you know, growth areas. So I think she makes a very good point.
Yeah, so it's product recognition is the thing that's coming. That's going to be, it's going to have a massive impact on the internet. So, you know, right now, compared to facial recognition, right? So, you know, anybody can tag you, right? It's easy for your phone to recognize your pictures and Facebook and that sort of thing. But once product recognition has been perfected, and you post a picture of a person, and the software can identify the dress and the purse and the shoes and all the things in that picture, right? Then it becomes buyable. Like buyable pins on Pinterest, if anybody's familiar. But this would be automated. So when that happens, now you've got Facebook can say, or Instagram can say, you will get 10% of our commission if somebody clicks through and buys it, right? Because they're going to do a deal with the manufacturers. So if somebody clicks through and buys that purse, then Facebook gets 20% of that, and then you get a piece of that 20%. And which means that once that happens, everybody's going to upload photos like crazy. So the content on the internet is going to explode. And now you've got this whole other retail channel that's going to develop, right? So that's what's coming. Social media will then become monetizable for anybody. Anybody just snaps a photo, posts it anywhere and everywhere. They have an opportunity to make money.
So that's a great point, Braden. Like, so you could be the affiliate for this market. Like, you could create that marketplace, and maybe you could do it with them.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying necessarily that I would get into the technology or have any connection to the technology. It's just that there will be a lot of companies that are going to create that technology and create the marketplaces for that technology, and they're all going to need names.
Yeah.
Right? So Recognize is a good name for that technology, which actually will be recognizing products, right? So that's why I bought it. I bought it in the NamesCon auction with everybody else sitting there. I got a great deal on it, but I was determined to buy that name at whatever price, and it went cheap, in my opinion. So that's the story behind that name. I always say that names don't need explaining, but that one kind of you know, there is a technology that isn't obvious.
So with the new technology that's coming out, how much do you foresee that you could possibly make? What's like the highest use that that name might bring?
Well, I mean, that's why I priced it for 7 figures. Because I think once that you get a company that gets tons of funding, right? They get tens of millions of dollars in funding for this tech, then, you know, they can afford a good solid name.
So is that one thing, would you be able to like tell the person who's wanting to get it from you right now, if you told him why you bought the name and why you want to hold on to it, then he might decide to go up. You think? I don't know.
I did explain.
You did?
Yeah, he's a technology guy. I mean, they're buying technology companies and rolling them up. That's what he's been doing for years. He's
But I think sorry, Braden, go on.
Yeah, he's a well-known CEO in the technology space. He's now going out on his own and creating a private equity firm to buy companies. So he when I explained why I own the name, he understood.
But I think this is a great point Braden's bringing up. So like as domain investors, right, like back to the CBD point, it's easy to buy names when they're hot, when they're trending. But as domain investors, we don't want to be ambulance chasers. We want to see trends coming before, invest in them, and sell to the highest possible user. So I'm really glad you brought this up, Braden, because I think this ties in nicely with the CBD trend and the domain evaluation before.
Yeah. And what if, Braden, what if this person acquires it from you and then changes their mind and keeps it for precisely that new technology? And when someone negotiates like that with you, do they have to legally use the name for what they said they would use it for?
If you sell somebody a car, do they have to drive it, you know, below 55 miles an hour? I mean, you know, like,
yeah.
No, but his argument is that he says he loves recognize for the companies he wants to buy this portfolio or whatever. So what if he buys it and he intends the true intent is to sell it for more money later?
Interesting. Actually, Joel is right, because let's say, for example, use an analogy that you're buying a photograph from an online vendor, and then you have to state what your purpose is. Like if you're using for an advertising project, you pay a lot more for that photograph, if you will.
But that's different. You're not buying the entire rights to that photograph and to the exclusion of anybody else. In the case of this domain name, you get the name. I mean, Braden has to decide if he wants to try to put restrictions on it, he can, but he'll never be able to sell it for any reasonable price because that's an encumbrance against the name. So there's no correlation with the example that you're giving. When you're buying a photograph from Getty Images, you're buying a license to use that photograph. So you are specifically buying it for a particular use, and they have different kinds of licenses, different levels of use for it. But this is, you are buying, like the example Braden gave was the car. Maybe a better example would be a home or some kind of actual real estate. You buy the real estate. The only restrictions you have on that real estate are the governmental restrictions and the zoning code, for instance, or other kinds of laws like that. But once you buy that property, you own that property and you can do whatever you want with it. So once this person buys the name, they could lie to Braden and say, yeah, I want to use it for my blog, and then go build a $1 billion business on it. But that's you know, that's part of the negotiation.
It is part.
He's not buying it to resell. He's literally a billionaire. He does not give a shit about buying a thing to resell.
But even if he was, it wouldn't matter, right? You have to decide at what value are you willing to let it go, regardless of what he wants to do with it. That's his decision, his choice, and for you, the value is the value of whatever you want to sell it for. or whatever you don't want to sell it for.
I certainly could not have any encumbrances on the name. He wouldn't accept that. The only thing that I would do is if and what I'm hoping to do is trade it for equity, and then I would include a clawback clause so that if and when that PE fund concludes, like, because usually they have a fund and it goes on for say 5 years, right, and then that fund ends, and it's possible that he decides in 5 years after this fund he doesn't want to do it anymore. I would have a clawback so that I can get the name back. And maybe I get the name back at, you know, the purchase price or something like that. But I would certainly request a clawback. But these are very, very smart people, so it's not like I'm going to pull the wool over their eyes.
Braden, what it looks like, I mean, you know this person and you have good rapport with them. I have had situations like that before, and a little bit of interjecting emotion might not be a bad idea. And by that I mean, look, I will, you know, I know your offer is 300,000, but in my heart, I had, you can say like 500,000 was the minimum. And then I know I would feel seller's remorse after that if I sell it for less. So I just want, you know, I know you well enough to share this with you. And at that moment, you know, it's very possible that you have nothing to lose, but you have a chance of hitting someplace where you can say, okay, I don't want this guy. He's my friend. I've known him for a long time. I don't want him to have seller's remorse. So let me offer him, I don't know, 200 more.
Because the salesman in me wants to say, you're overthinking him, that he's smarter than you. You own the name.
Yeah.
You have the leverage. Stop overthinking that they know more than you. You know this business. They may know their business, but don't let that weigh over you.
Yeah.
Counter, do whatever you feel is best. Get your equity, but I don't think that the fact that they own a $500 million fund, or, you know, they got a $40 billion for this or that makes any difference. They know their business. You know this business.
Right, but I don't think Braden's saying that the guy's smarter than him. And I think you guys are all overthinking this. The fact is, the name is worth what it's worth to Braden, and whether, you know, and Joseph, I don't think your idea of injecting emotion into this is going to make any difference. The guy's a businessman, right? And if Braden wants to talk to him about other things, and they do have rapport and maybe other deals, sure. But the name is worth what it's worth to Braden, and the guy's going to pay what he's willing to pay. And he's a businessman, so it doesn't mean he's smarter than Braden. They just may value the name differently. I think we're all overthinking this.
Yeah, and guys, don't forget the fact that Braden told us that he has two or three alternate names at the 100K mark that he is also comfortable with. It seems like he likes this one the most. That's why he's even offered what he did. But, you know, that's something to keep in mind, that there's other fish in the sea in his head, right? So.
Yeah. Right. All right, guys.
Yeah, but it also doesn't.
I'm going to interject here, and just because we have about 25, 30 minutes to go before the recording stops. So I know, Paige, are you still around?
Yeah.
Okay, so in 2 weeks' time, I don't know how many people you know already, but Paige is doing a kind of like a domain conference. It's going to be called the Domain Show, and I'm going to ask him to tell us about it a bit for like 5-10 minutes as I just finalize the auctions, and then we'll do auctions right after that. So Paige, you're up, buddy.
Thanks. It's 2 weeks from yesterday, July 23rd, 24th, and 25th. It's an online conference. We've got about 30 speakers, about 34 presentations. And so for me, it's the single biggest gathering of great domain investors that's ever occurred in the history of time.
Or since this chat.
Since this chat, exactly. But some of the folks on this chat are going to be there. And I guess when I thought about this late last year, I wanted to bring an independent domain investor perspective, one. Secondly, it's for anyone who owns a domain name, would like to own a domain name, or would like to know more about buying a high-end premier domain name. So day 2, Friday, is devoted mostly to big name hunting, bigger names. And I think as an industry, we don't present the idea of buying premier domain names as a whole. You contact a broker and he tells you what he has, and that's what you should buy, is what he has. So I think as an independent person, I can kind of bring everyone together. And so we'll be leading it off with a session, the best 100 domain names you can buy right now. And so that's Friday. Thursday is kind of general domaining in the domain community. And then Saturday is Domain Investor Day. Maybe you've read the ebook, you're doing great, or you're not doing great, and what do you do next? Parking pages, landers, how to sell it wholesale. So it's a virtual conference. You'll be watching on your home or your mobile device. You can watch some of the sessions that'll be pre-recorded. Some of the sessions and games and contests will be live. You sign up at thedomainshow.com. It's free to watch the show for the first 48 hours. Then there's an upsell to buy the whole series that you can keep for a year. But wait, there's more. Right now, you can go to thedomainshow.com and get a free with replays ticket where you watch the show for free and get the replays right now at thedomainshow.com.
All right, sounds good. Said 5 minutes.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. And if we have another couple minutes, I would love to hear anyone's comments on what they'd like to see in a domain show, topics, things they hate about my idea already. Let me have it. But I do have the ability, because we're not having to get hotel reservations, plane tickets, clear out our calendars, travel across the globe. We can get people from different places around the world together on panels or in sessions right now in the 2 weeks we have left leading up to the show. So I'm open for, we have about 3 more sessions I need to fill up, and I want to do it with some input. So that's what I got.
So Paige, it says $99 for the 5 domain show plus replays.
Yep.
Is that what you said? Okay.
Hey, Paige, is the URL working? Because I put it into the chat and I'm getting some folks saying that the domain is not up.
That's terrible. I was going to share my screen.
It worked for me, Paige. It works sometimes. It's also, it goes to the main summit or summit something summit, but I had that issue yesterday.
Okay, well, thank you for letting me know. I will, I'll fire somebody. Heads will roll.
There you go.
Yeah, I think you would know how a damn domain works at this point, right?
You never know.
No.
But this happens. It's
Domains
often,
don't always make the best website builders. I can tell you that for sure.
what is it? The cobbler's kids have no shoes.
Yes.
Jason Shepard has his hand up in the chat.
Yeah, if we had registered, I mean, did I hear you right? You said if we go there now, it's, well, tell me again the offer.
So if you've already registered for the show, you're in for the show and free replays.
Okay, that was my question. So that answered.
You signed up anytime in the last 9 months, you're in with free replays. If you go today and sign up and buy the ticket that says dn.biz sponsored free replays, you will not be charged any money. And if you happen to buy a ticket that doesn't look like you get replays, then send me an email and I'll make sure you do.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Jason.
All right, great. So now it's time. I guess everyone's been waiting for this, for the auctions. It's the first time we're doing it, so I want everybody to just take it easy a little bit on me. I hope to have everybody's names here. If I don't, I apologize. It's been a bit of a crazy week, but I have 12 domains up for auction. Various quality. And yeah, so I just what I'll do is I'll flash the name on the screen, and then what will happen is I'll put a second page up. The first one will be without the price, without the reserve. The second one will be with the reserve if it's there. So the moment the second screen flashes, if you want to bid the reserve, and then anybody else after that will be bids going upwards. It'll be, we'll use the chat to make it official. If you want, you can verbalize it if we have time, and I'll write it in. But we're going to try and go through this quickly. It's not going to linger on and on and on. There's some really good ones in there. So without more hesitation, I'm just going to pull them up.
Hold on, I'm not able to type anything into the chat. I don't know if that's just me, maybe.
Everybody make sure you can, because you want to make sure you get those deals. Just to for the future, if anybody wants to send in their domains,
I can now.
send them to info@thedomainsocial.com, and I'll check them there. Try to send me. I wasn't able to check this week, so again, this is between you guys as buyer and seller. I wasn't able to verify everything as I'd like to. For future submissions, make sure you send them from the domain of the whois, so that I will be able to verify them in the future, and or at least if it's not blocked, but I'll do my best. And that's about it. So when I flash up the name, the domain owner should be there, and you have 15 seconds to pitch your domain, and after that we're going to go right into it. We're not going to delay too long. All right, so share screen, and where we go? Where are we here? All right, auction number 1. Bang. Everybody ready? Here we go. Can you see it? Everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, Atlanta Theaters, it's Paige's domain. So Paige, you got a couple of seconds to pitch it if you'd like.
Yep, Atlanta Theaters, spelled the U.S. way, ERS. It's taken in the top 77 cities around the country. Atlanta's the top 10 city. Whether it's home theaters or the thing we used to do where we used to go to movies in places where you watched it with other people. AtlantaTheaters.com, no reserve. Go get them.
Well, yeah, okay, so no reserve. So go ahead, go in the chat, you guys, and make your bids. Dave Parr, $1. Anybody else? 2 from Kevin. Okay, so we're gonna start going up. Next one's gonna be 5. Okay, $20. There you go, Mike. $20. Anybody? 25. Good.
And
Dave.
just like at the domain show, we're not going to do the hey, bada, 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 bada. Just make it clear. The bid's 25 now.
30, 36.
It's 36 now. You have to bid higher than 36 to win the name. There's no minimum increment. So we're going to be nice and clear language on these. No bada, 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 bada.
Bada bing, bada bang. Okay. Anybody else more than 36?
Volume, 210 searches a month, cost per click, $2.04. You guys got to get your bids up.
36. Once, twice, last chance. Oh, 40. Okay, guys, got to hurry up from now on. Okay?
You might want to give them a little time there between first, second, and third chance.
All right, so 40's good. Gotta keep them coming, guys. I got 11 more domains after this, and we have 15 minutes. So,
all right, going once, going twice. If you're waiting for the last minute, now is the time. Sold at $40.
Oh, there's 45 there.
Ooh, oh, we saw 45 right under the wire.
Up.
Go, Joseph.
Double-edged sword, Paige.
All right, we're gonna go faster now, guys. 45.
All right, so
going once.
5.
Twice.
Going once. If you want to get in a bid, you should go fast.
Yep. So once
$45 going twice. $45 sold.
Okay, Joseph. Good job. You guys hook up, buy and sell, and figure that out. Next one up. Here we go. Share screen. I'm getting good at this. All right, next one. Oh, wait. Here we go. All right, Ellie, for dental bond. Ellie, you there? Pitch your name in.
Yeah, so pretty much it's self-explanatory. So it pretty much speaks for itself. And it looks like it's taken in .org, .info, .net, and there's a big website in .in India being used as well. So it speaks for itself. Let's go.
All right, guys, get it on. The reserve is no reserve. Get at it. Don't forget, you got to get some nice bids in so that we get people volunteering names for future weeks. Dental bond, guys. It's a big business for dentures, no?
Yep. Dental.bond would cost you $1,000. I'm just trying here.
You mean
there we
there's
go.
a premium renewal on the alternate TLD is what you're saying?
There's a premium everything on that one. It's a very pricey name.
Where is that registrar?
So what is the registrar of record for
Yeah,
dentalbond.com is the question.
Good question.
Ellie, what's the registrar?
Oh, Uniregistry.
Uniregistry, okay.
Good answer.
All right, well, if no one else is bidding, I'm bidding 10. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. I won't do it in future weeks, but I haven't set that thing yet, so $10 for me. Oh, Drew, okay. Never mind for my bet.
I'll do $100.
Right on, Drew.
110, Alvin.
Your teeth are shaken, not stirred. Nice job, Alvin.
I am not going to be bartenders.com on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good domain. I mean, I don't want to.
It is. That is
but
a
I mean,
good
it's
domain.
dental bond. It's like all these dentures. How many people have dentures in the world? It's
On a pay-per-click basis, dental keywords are very, very high. Dentists are a very cash-rich business. Not a lot of insurance covers them, so there's a lot of. It's a good marketing domain.
Why are you talking, Drew? Why
Great point, Drew.
There's a reason I wanted to pay more than the. It's a good domain.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys. So 110. It's going to be going once. Oh, 120 from Nick. No, from Nick's iPhone. Okay. 120.
The name is Bond.
Alvin, 150
from Alvin. 150. Bids are heating up.
Yeah, Alvin, get them.
So I'm doing the air horn on the 2-minute mark.
All right. So
2 minutes, 10 seconds.
All right. So 150. Anybody else going once? Going twice. 150. It's sold to Alvin. Good job, guys.
Way to go, Alvin.
Nice. Great buy, Alvin.
Congrats, guys.
Paige, you're up next again. Anybody who had a domain that didn't have at least one, let me know. Okay.
Which one?
It's coming up. Here we go. thousandoaks.us.
Oh, thousandoaks.us. Oh my
Go
gosh.
for it.
Large city, nice city. The U.S. extension, as we all know, is, I'm sorry, I can't say it with a straight face, is coming on strong. But anyway, a lot of cities are taken. This one's available. It's a nice city. It's in the U.S. thousandoaks.us, or it could be thousandoaks.us, the leading social environment and social media community for Thousand Oaks.
All right. So here we go. The reserve is no reserve. Got it, guys.
Thousand Oaks,
Kevin.
growing community.
We went over 25. Current bid's 25.
Where's the reg that page?
Dynadot, this one needs to be a push. Needs to be a push. You have almost a year left.
Thousandoaks.us. Current bid 25. Anybody for more?
Let this go for only $25. Anybody else?
Thousand Oaks. Sounds like I've heard of that place like a million times. 30 for Jason. Jason Shepard.
Yeah.
Nice community.
Fun fact, there are a lot of oak trees in Thousand Oaks.
I was going to say, I don't want to exclude the oak tree farming market that
No farming. No farming of oak tree. You can't even trim an oak tree without a permit around here.
Otherwise, you go to jail.
Thousand Oaks is about 10 minutes from me, by the way.
All right, $50. Kevin, is that 50?
the Dallas Cowboys may have their training camp there. Can anyone back me up on that one?
They used to.
They used to, and now they don't anymore.
I think it's Oxnard
know
now.
where it is. Where's Thousand Oaks? What state?
I think it's Oxnard now.
Ventura County, California.
just over the LA County line in Ventura.
All right, so
a lot of rich homes.
US $50. Anyone more than that? Have to speak up now. Going once.
A lot of people aren't driving downtown. They're living in places like Thousand Oaks.
All right, going twice at $50. Last chance, guys. All right, so it's sold $50. Kevin Allen. Thanks, Paige. Thanks, Kevin.
Congratulations, Kevin.
Good job. All right, got 2 more for you guys. We'll call it a day. Next one up, Ellie, your second one. Phantombook.com. Phantombook.com. Go for it, Ellie.
Okay.
20 seconds. Go for it.
So like I said earlier, again, it's kind of self-explanatory and it's descriptive domain name. So there's no reserve. And I think the domain name was first registered like 15, 12 years ago, I believe. And there are no reserves. So Phantom is a great word. So it's also book. So I think it's reserved in 3 extensions. So that's it.
All right. So the reserve is no reserve. Get at it, guys. Dave, $1. Go, guys. Phantom Book. $10 from Jason. Jason, is that a 10? I'm assuming the exclamation.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good. Okay. $20 from Joseph.
You couldn't tell if it was a 10 or an emphatic 0.
$50 from Dave.
There you go, Dave.
Phantom Book.
Also, maybe be like a stock trading, like you know, you have the real numbers and then you have the phantom numbers. A phantom book.
Ooh, 60.
Danielle, 60.
And I think also it's easy to spell, easy to remember. So, and I think it's a great.com. You know, you don't have to like, it's not a .org or .org, it's a .com. Phantom Book. So it's like a consulting. It's like a software. It can be an accounting agency. So yeah. So let me shut up.
What is the registrar of record for this? Was the question in the chat?
Uni Registry.
Okay. And then it is Phantom Book, not plural, right?
Oh, singular.
Okay.
Yeah, phantombook.com. All right, so we got $60 as the high bid to Danielle. Going once. Going twice. All right, sold for $60. Good job, guys. We got one final one. I like this one as a Canadian. And here it is. Leo, you there? Here we go.
I'm here.
Last one, moose.tv.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so all Canadians, get in there.
Yeah,
So go for it, Leo. You got 15 seconds to say what you want about it.
so this domain is Arif's choice.
Yeah.
I present him a list of names and I told him, okay, choose 1 or 2. And he said, oh, I like this because I'm Canadian. So it's, first of all, it's one word TV, and it's like some TV names somehow fits. I think it fits Moose TV, so it can be like meaningful.
Right.
That's all.
Okay, so the reserve is $100. Get at it, everyone. It's pretty good for a oneword.tv. Moose.tv. I don't think Meese.tv would be very good, Logan.
So the idea is you've got a short 5-letter name. The other thing that would make it scarce is you've only got so many animals in the world. So you got the name of an animal, which is maybe, there's maybe 60 animals at the same level as moose. So you've got a little, you try to identify what makes it scarce. It's a moose. So I'll just give it a little, thing. I think if I was ever selling this name, I would try to possibly highlight how many other TLDs it was taken in, how many domain names in .com may have this word. And those would be some of the things I'd be thinking about if I was, putting this name in one of our auctions or something like that.
Yeah, I like Moose as a Canadian.
Do we have any bids?
Anyone? $100. One once. Vito, $100.
Vito's in the house.
I like that one. I was gonna I was gonna grab it if it wasn't sold.
It's a great domain name.
I'll explain for you guys hooking up afterwards. Actually, for the buyers and sellers, you can email me at info@thedomainsocial.com if you don't have each other's contacts. So we're still selling this one. Moose, guys, come on. Do I have to do this? Top the bids, moose.tv.
For the rest of this auction, yes.
$100. Oh, Dennis says moose.tv. Bot says it's $3,400. So $100, guys. Going once, very slowly, because it's the last domain.
Close it up.
Twice.
Close it up. Be fair.
All right,
Close it up.
Vito. Sold to Vito. $100 to Vito.
Right.
All righty. Only because I love you, Vito. Congratulations, everybody. So as I said, hopefully you all know each other. Otherwise, connect with me at info@thedomainsocial.com, and I'll make sure to hook you guys up with each other. And that's it. So people want to submit domains for next week. We'll do preference to no reserve. Again, email me info@thedomainsocial.com. And I'm going to put this up, actually share. There we go. And also, I finally set up Twitter, and the Twitter handle, there's the extension from before that was missing. It's just the domain social, no .com. It's just the domain social, at the domain social Twitter. Because from this week going forward, I'm going to let Mike just like sleep, and I'm not going to ask him to send out emails anymore. So make sure you get the emails from me directly or at the domain social on Twitter. And aside from that, I just want to thank everybody. Anybody else? Last words? Top to share?
Yeah, I got something to say. Toast to Michael Sider.
Michael Sider, I like that one. Cheers, I still have a little bit of my drink left. Yeah, thanks again to Mike.
He was here today, guys. Is he still here?
Was he here?
The ghost?
No, the ghost of Michael Siger. Who was that?
Chaim.